You don't have to arrive here calm. You don't have to be centered or clear or ready. If you've been holding yourself together all day, meeting expectations, managing emotions, staying composed, this is the place where that effort can soften. There's a quiet exhaustion that comes not from doing too much, but from holding too much inside, and maybe no one sees it. You function, you show up, you keep moving, but underneath, there's a subtle tension, a constant readiness, as if something might be asked of you at any moment. This is not a space that asks. This is not something you need to follow or understand. There is no lesson waiting at the end of this. This is simply a place to be inside yourself without pressure. Take a moment to notice how your body is holding you right now. Not to change it, just to feel it. The way your weight settles. The way the surface beneath you supports you without effort. The way breath continues on its own without instruction. You don't need to improve this moment. You don't need to make anything happen. If there's a sense of vigilance, of staying slightly alert, slightly braced, you don't need to push it away. Just recognize it. Often, that vigilance learned its role a long time ago. It kept you moving. It kept you responsive. It kept things from falling apart. But here, it doesn't need to lead. Here, you are not being evaluated. You are not being guided toward a better version of yourself. You are not being asked to let go of anything before you're ready. You are allowed to rest inside the moment, not outside it, not beyond it, not after it. There is a difference between stopping and feeling safe enough to stop. Many people can pause their bodies, but their inner space remains tense, as if rest must be earned, as if stillness might be interrupted at any second. This space is not fragile. Nothing you feel will break it. Nothing you think will disrupt it. Nothing you forgot to do is waiting here. If it feels unfamiliar to not be required, that's okay. You don't need to settle all at once. You don't need to trust this immediately. Just let the idea land gently. For these moments, you are already allowed. Allowed to be quiet. Allowed to be unproductive. Allowed to be unfinished. You don't need to go anywhere else to arrive. And as we continue, there will be no urgency to move forward. Only a gradual remembering that safety does not come from control, but from being held by what is already here. We'll take this slowly. You don't need to stay alert here. If there's a part of you that keeps listening for what comes next, waiting for direction, instruction, or expectation, you can let that soften too. Nothing is required from you in this space. You don't have to track what's being said. You don't have to follow it correctly. You don't have to stay focused in any particular way. This can simply be here with you. Sometimes, when stillness appears, the body doesn't immediately relax. It hesitates. It checks. It stays slightly lifted, as if rest might be temporary. That hesitation isn't wrong. It's learned. So rather than trying to settle it, just notice how it shows up, maybe as a subtle tightness in the chest, maybe as a held breath, maybe as a feeling of staying on, even while sitting still. There's no need to name it precisely. No need to change it. Awareness is enough. As you stay with this moment, something gentle begins to happen, not because you're doing it, but because there's less being asked of you. The body naturally responds to permission, and if nothing shifts yet, that's fine too. There is no schedule for release. Let your attention drift downward, not intentionally, but as if it's following gravity, down through the shoulders, down through the chest and abdomen, down into the place where your weight meets support. You don't need to imagine anything. Just sense where you are already being held. The chair, the floor, the surface beneath you, that doesn't need effort to support your weight. Notice how different this is from holding yourself up. There is a quiet relief in not having to maintain your own balance. If thoughts appear, planning, remembering, evaluating, they don't need to be pushed away. They can move through, like background sound, while something deeper begins to descend beneath them. This descent isn't dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It feels more like a gradual dropping of armor, piece by piece, without needing to know what comes after. You're not going anywhere unfamiliar. You're moving closer to what has always been here, beneath the effort, beneath the vigilance, beneath the habit of being prepared. There is a difference between letting go and being supported. Letting go can feel risky. Support does not. And right now, you are being supported, whether or not your body fully recognizes it yet. Stay here a little longer. There is no need to move forward. Nothing is waiting ahead of you. Only a deepening sense that you don't have to carry yourself alone. There is a point where effort begins to loosen on its own. Not because you decided to relax, but because there is nothing left here that requires holding. You may notice the mind growing quieter, not silent, just less insistent. Thoughts may still pass through, but they no longer feel like something you must follow. They can come and go, while something steadier remains underneath. This steadiness is not something you create. It's something you return to. Often, we learn to feel safe by staying alert, by scanning, anticipating, preparing. Over time, that vigilance becomes familiar. It feels like control. It feels like responsibility. But safety doesn't live there. Safety lives in the places where nothing is demanded. As you sit here, notice how your inner space feels when there is no expectation to improve, no pressure to arrive anywhere else. You might sense a quiet widening, a subtle opening that doesn't pull you forward, but allows you to rest where you already are. This is not emptiness, it's presence without tension. If the body still holds certain areas tightly, there's no need to adjust them. They will soften when they're ready. For now, let your awareness settle, not on what needs attention, but on what already feels stable. Perhaps it's the weight of your legs. Perhaps it's the steady rhythm of breath. Perhaps it's simply the fact that you are here and nothing is asking you to leave. This is what it means to be safe inside. Not because the world has become predictable, but because you are no longer bracing against it. The inner realm isn't a place you enter. It's the space that remains when you stop reaching outward. Here, you don't need to monitor yourself. You don't need to stay composed. You don't need to be prepared for the next moment. Everything you've been holding can rest on something deeper now. Let this be enough for a while. We're not moving anywhere yet. Stay with this sense of being held, not by effort, not by thought, but by the quiet steadiness that has always been present beneath the noise. As safety settles, it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with sensation or emotion that needs to be named. It spreads quietly, not outward in a dramatic way, but inward, into places that have been holding tension for a long time. You may notice small shifts, a softening you didn't initiate, a breath that drops a little deeper on its own, a sense that something inside you no longer needs to stay on guard. There is nothing you need to do with this. You don't need to follow it. You don't need to encourage it. You don't need to hold on to it. Safety expands best when it's not managed. Often, we think of safety as something external, a condition that must be met, a situation that must be controlled. But what you're experiencing now doesn't depend on circumstances. It's the kind of safety that comes when the body realizes it is no longer being pushed forward. Notice how different this feels from trying to relax. Trying implies effort. Trying implies an outcome. This is something else. This is what happens when there is no longer pressure to perform stillness. If your attention wanders, let it. If it returns, let that happen too. There is no right place for awareness to settle. Wherever it is, it's already included. You might sense the space around your body, feeling less sharp, less defined, as if the boundary between inside and outside isn't something you need to defend. You are not dissolving. You are not losing yourself. You are simply no longer bracing. This is the quiet strength of being safe inside, not rigid, not collapsed, but naturally supported. Nothing is being fixed here. Nothing is being healed on command. And yet, something fundamental is reorganizing without effort. Let this continue in its own way. There is no reason to hurry forward. You are already where you need to be. At some point, safety stops feeling like something you're experiencing and begins to feel like something you're remembering, not a new realization, more like a quiet recognition. You may notice that nothing changed externally, and yet something essential has shifted internally. The sense of being held is no longer dependent on how still you are, how quiet your mind is, or how closely you're following along. It's simply there. This is the Lumen shift, the moment when safety is no longer a condition, but a quality of presence. You don't need to maintain it. You don't need to protect it. It doesn't weaken when attention drifts. It doesn't disappear when thoughts return. It remains because it was never created. Many people search for safety by controlling their environment or perfecting their inner state. But what you're touching now is the safety that exists before control. It's subtle. It doesn't assert itself. It allows everything else to come and go without being disturbed. If there is emotion here, it's welcome. If there is neutrality, that's welcome too. Nothing is out of place. You're not being asked to stay here forever. You're simply being shown that this quality of being is available more often than you realized. Let that land quietly. As this sense of being safe inside settles, there's no need to hold on to it. Integration doesn't require effort. It happens naturally when nothing is being forced. You may begin to sense how this inner steadiness can accompany you beyond this moment, not as something you carry, but as something that carries you. Life will still move, conversations will still happen, decisions will still be made, but they don't have to be braced for. Safety doesn't mean nothing will touch you. It means you don't have to tighten around what does. You can let this quality remain as a quiet background, present even when attention turns outward. There's no instruction here for how to live differently, no method to remember. This isn't something you practice. It's something you notice again and again. And if it fades from awareness later, that's not a loss. It simply means you'll recognize it again when the moment is right. There's nothing you need to take from this except what is already here. No insight to remember, no feeling to preserve. You can let this moment complete itself without closing anything. If you notice the world returning, sounds, movement, thoughts, let them arrive without resistance. You don't need to leave this space to meet them. Safety doesn't stay behind. When attention shifts, it stays quiet, unassuming, available. You are free to move on when you're ready, or to remain here a little longer. Both are allowed. Nothing is ending. Nothing is beginning. There is simply the quiet recognition that you are already safe inside.